We have a full crew tonight joining me. Everything that's going on. Former Huskers, Jay Moore and Damon Benning. Sean Callahan as well. Lots to do. Let's start off with the happy news. Dana Holgorsen, 2 years, going to be around. Talk to us about how that works in terms of his contract.
Yeah, on Saturday, they settled Dana Holgorsen's contract. Dana Holgorsen signed a 2-year agreement where Nebraska will pay him $1.2 million, and then Houston still will owe him $4.5, and Nebraska's amount will be deducted from that. And then on the next year, Houston will only have to pay 60% of what Dana Holgorsen is owed, and then Nebraska will continue to pay him $1.2. So they are getting Dana Holgorsen at a discounted price. I mean, a coordinator of his stature is generally going to push $2 million, and Nebraska will get him for $1.2, actually less than what they're currently paying Marcus Satterfield.
I mean, you saw 3 games with him in charge. What did you like about it that gets you excited for next year?
I just like the fact that, excuse me, I think, the competitive nature that he approaches the game is huge. He's demanding, he's thorough, he's a great teacher. I think he instills confidence, and he knows personnel. So going forward, I think all those things will matter. I'm
not saying it's ever happened to you, but what's it like when they call it a player? When they say, the running backs need to hit this hole, or the wide receivers need to block, or the defensive end needs to get that edge, or something like that?
Oh, it's definitely happened to me. Not publicly.
Right.
I think you play this game long enough, you're going to get called out.
Sure.
The saying is if they stop calling you out, that's when you got to be worried. Like they care, so they want you to perform better. Been called out plenty of times. Yeah, you can take it one or two ways. You can get better from it, or you can take your ball and kind of go home and tuck your tail between the legs and not get better from it. But I like the fact that Thomas Fidone.
Yeah.
After the Wisconsin game, comes out, maybe has his best week of practice, they said, all year. Heading into the Iowa game, you see him, contributes, makes a couple of big catches. But you like that competitive nature. You sure, call me out, recognize some things, but I'm going to get better from it. And as a player, it's like, okay, it's my time to prove you wrong. But that's what you want as a coach, too. It's got to tick you off a little bit as a player, and you got to respond.
Yeah, before we talk about Tony White, what you saw from Emmett Johnson, what was it about what Dana Holgorsen was doing to affect what Emmett Johnson did, what the offensive line did, because he'd like a different back at times?
Yeah, I just like the fact that from a concept standpoint, it's clean. The double, the move, the crease, the backside wall, how they wash guys. It just suits his running style where as long as he's just pressing that point of attack and staying on that crease, he's just a naturally gifted crease finder. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of said all year, at least I have, that the holes are there.
Yeah.
You just got to find them, and that's the way that this offense is predicated up front, and it plays to Emmett's strengths.
No doubt about that. Let's go. On3 was the first report, the Florida State site, that Tony White was going to Florida State. How did that all develop?
It developed awfully quick because you generally don't see a big move like this until after signing day. But Florida State was able to get it official with Tony White. And you look at just the timeline of the way the last few weeks of the season played out for Nebraska. The loss at Indiana with 56 points, and then nearly beating Ohio State, but then the tough loss at home against UCLA where the defense was on the field for 14.5 of the first 16 minutes of that game, a 25-3 play count to open that game up. Just the tone of things, you just wonder how much things changed and what went on behind the scenes. Because I think on the surface, fans are very surprised to lose Tony White.
But to Florida State,
to lose him, but to have him see him move on, especially after they fought to keep him. And his contract did state, there was a buyout if he left for anything else other than a head coaching position. So this, I think, caught everybody by surprise, I think, from the fan level. But it's an opportunity for him. He's going to be on a 3-year contract at Florida State and, probably have the autonomy or whatever he's looking for that he doesn't have right now. It's an opportunity he wants to take on.
Why do you think Florida State? Why do you think that's the choice?
I think it was important for him to be back in Florida. Mm-hmm. There's only a couple reasons I could think that I would make a move like this where it's not necessarily about finances, it's about specific locations. And for me, I would just think family. And I think that was important to him to be in that part of the country at this particular juncture. And I think he's going to make it work. He'll have some talented guys to work with, and I just don't want people to be too dismissive of the job that he did, because when you're top 30 in stuff rate and you give up as few points as they have, you've earned the right to be on the better end of a win-loss record. So I don't want to be dismissive about the job that he's done or the person that he is at all.
Damon brings up stuff rate. Half the runs Iowa had on Friday night were stuffed. 10 of the runs
They're
that
28th in the
Ohio
country.
State, yeah, and Ohio State, they stuffed them too, and other ones. Like anytime it was third or less, Nebraska did a very good job of stopping them. What do you take away from what Tony White did with this defense?
Take a lot. I didn't know when he came in here. I didn't know what to expect with a 3-3-5. I knew he had talent. Obviously, you're able to do that stuff because of the guys you have up front: Ty, Nash, Jamari. Luke Reimers, Nick Henrich last year, Mekhi Bayer. Some younger guys this year in the linebacker in that room. Your edge guys with Sherman and Princewell and. So you have some good edge guys. You can do all that stuff because you have good talent.
Yeah.
And they understand where those guys were talented. They put them in the right places to win pre-snap, and they taught. I mean, that's a hard role to play because Ty, Nash, Jamari, they have to play multiple positions, 5 technique, 3 technique, 4-eye, a shade. That's a lot to ask your guys, but they had the guys to do it, and they did some unique things up front, which you don't see a lot. But in a 3-3-5, it worked out fantastic. And whoever's going to fill in, that's some awfully big shoes to fill, for sure.
Let's cut something off at the past. There are people out there that are saying the reason why he left was Phil Snow getting in the way, or maybe John Butler changing some things. Do you think that the whole too many cooks in the kitchen was an issue?
Yeah, I'm not of that volition. I know some other people may think differently up here, but that's not what I think. I think that if that was the case, he was extremely professional about it. It certainly was unbeknownst to Coach Rule and the rest of that staff. So I don't think that's what it is at all. I think part of what people have to understand is at this stage of your career, when you have the kinds of things that he has at his disposal, staying sharp, staying motivated, and staying competitive is always important, but the whole person is important too. And so, it's a different set of circumstances sometimes for guys that aren't used to it being in the state of Nebraska.
Sure.
With the city of Lincoln and the surrounding areas. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we didn't really realize what a good job he was doing, especially relative to where Nebraska had been. So I think a lot of factors play in, and I'd put the Phil Snow thing, at least for me, and the information I'm aware of, way down on the list.
Whoever gets this job, and we've been around a lot of coaches, a lot of assistants, this is a lot of pressure. Getting the bowl game is one thing, but just being a Nebraska coach and the amount of pressure there is to get this thing turned around, whoever comes in here has to understand what they're getting into.
Yeah, there were so many highs this year where you're like, what they did to Colorado, what they did to Kyle Monangai, what they did to Ohio State, what they did to Iowa, were the best of the best. You're like, wow, Nebraska was as good as any defense in the country on those days. But then you look at the Indiana game and the UCLA game and some of the other moments that raise red flags. So, I mean, the pressures, the week-to-week pressures here, because once you thought you had it all figured out at Ohio State, then the UCLA game happened. And I think the pressure is real for a coach that takes this job because you are analyzed a lot more by the fan base, by everybody here. The microscope on this program is obviously a lot bigger than most places. There's probably only 5 or 6 places where it's bigger or as big as Nebraska in college football.
System's obviously a big deal, but talent on defense and having the wherewithal to be able to play down and down out. What would you like to see in terms of, you want to see somebody stay and have the 3-3-5? Would you like to see them going back to the 4-3? What do you want to see defensively in the Big Ten?
Yeah, I played in a 4-3. I've played on multiple different fronts. I played in an overfront. I played in an underfront. We don't have enough time to get into the difference between the two. I played in multiple different 3-4 defenses in the NFL and understand different concepts. As you have a Wade Phillips concept and you have a Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells kind of a concept in the 3-4. I think any defense can work. You just have to have talent.
Sure.
You have to recruit, and you have to go find talent. You have to have explosive defensive linemen. You have to have guys who rush the passer. You have to have guys who can cover on the edge. And Nebraska's had a mix of those at times, but they just got to get better talent. I think with whatever you have, I don't really care what it is. I think any system can work here at Nebraska. But you got to keep recruiting. You got to get those guys to come here. You got to have speed. You have to have athleticism. I think, if anything, I want to get Nebraska's missing this all over the field. I think they just need some more speed. I think that's what they're lacking overall at times, and that's gonna help for sure.
Let's go back to Friday.
As long as you love playing, if you love playing football, you can play on any front.
Sure.
Less talented, more talented teams be very accomplished playing. You love playing football. 3-man, 4-man, doesn't matter. You can play football.
Yeah, talking to people who played for Bill Belichick, they would always say, you didn't know what they were going to. Tuesdays when they found out what they were going to be doing.
Yeah.
It was going to be something different, and it worked for whoever they're playing against.
I mean,
right?
yeah, it's not like, Pepper Carson or Pepper Johnson, Harry Carson. Those guys were like fleet of foot. Like,
No, yeah.
sometimes you just, if you love playing, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. So go back to Friday. Man, it's just, you come out of that game, and Nebraska had maybe 2 or 3 plays that go the wrong way for it. Just the feeling on that first half of the way they dominated.
Yeah, I mean, that was as dominating of a defensive performance as we've seen Nebraska play. I mean, when you look at what Iowa's run game had done all year, leading the Big Ten, they had 2 first-team All-Big Ten offensive linemen, a first-team All-Big Ten running back in Caleb Johnson. So to be able to do what they did, Iowa 0 for 10 on 3rd downs, 5 first downs in the game. It was unbelievable, and obviously it goes back to the one play in the second half. But at halftime, I came up to you, Michael, and I was like, "We're getting ready to go to Florida."
Yeah.
You grabbed me and said, "Sean,
Don't jinx
no,
it." Yeah.
no!" And we have a lot of fun after that. I jinxed it in the press box there at that moment, but. That was Nebraska needed to do more, though, with that defensive performance. I mean, you would have liked to have seen that 13-0 or 17-0, and then that game's over at that point.
Yeah, sometimes it's one play. We always talk about the end, but I go back to the first drive. Jalen Lloyd in that post, wide open. Yeah. That's a touchdown. I know it's only a 4-point difference, but, man, the energy that would have went out of that stadium when you hit that.
Yeah, it's huge, and I think what it does is it frees you up to be who you want it to be. I think originally in that game as a play caller, because there was all sorts of concepts that were open.
Yeah.
I really like what they did in terms of getting guys open, and there were a handful of plays in that first half where I felt like Nebraska should have been upwards near of probably the 20-point mark. And I'm just saying that to be conservative.
Sure.
It could have been over 20 points, but that's just who Iowa is. And I think when you don't capitalize and they don't flinch, what it forces you to do is kind of get outside of yourself a little bit, because you feel like, at some point it's coming. And eventually it did.
Yeah, they wait for you to make a mistake. Let's talk about that. Special teams, again, you get the muff punt, you get the missed field goal from a guy who had been really on fire because of the bad snap. But, again, special teams, a good reason for a loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you get in these close ball games, and we've seen it for these one-score games for how many years now, a lot of it comes down to special teams, and Nebraska just hasn't been good on that side of in that phase of the game.
Yeah.
It's whether it's a snapping issue. I mean, we've had good snaps, and we have kickers we've had kicking issues. Returning punts, the kicking game. It just rears its ugly head at the wrong time. I mean, this play right here, and I know it's hard, but, IGC here just needs to be yelling. I think they yell poison as loud as you can to get that out there, to get the word that you did not touch that football. There's some guys around that saw that, but you see some guys scrambling around it just in case. And this is an effort play because you don't know.
Yep.
But overall, those 2 plays, this came down to 4 different plays of losing this football game, and that one was huge. Even though the defense does step up and hold them to 3 points after that, that's a huge win. But you just felt after that missed field goal that things were starting to slide, and you're starting to lose that momentum that you had for that whole first half.
You obviously are you're the longest punt return in state history in high school football. You did it for a long time. You did it at the next level. What did you see on that play? What did you think about the way they were punting? They were punting short all night.
Catch the ball.
Yeah. Come up and get it.
Catch the ball.
Yeah.
He could say poison, Peter, pickles, pizza. To give it, I understand that he didn't think he could get it. He stayed away from it. But when you get that close within 1.5 yards, I think it just simply starts with fielding the ball. I'm not upset with Shavers for making a hustle play.
Tried, yeah.
Prude, in his defense, he wasn't sure. He's trying to make a hustle play. So I think you just get the ball fielded. Just do the little things, right? Mm-hmm. Running fair catch, plenty of time. He's kicked the ball about, 40, 41 yards on average. It's going to be a short punt.
Yeah.
Get it fielded, fair catch it, nothing to worry about.
He was cooking it so much shorter. So he had like 34, 33, 36. That's a 46-yard punt guy. Yeah. I think it was kind of part of their strategy.
It was,
right?
It was very heavy.
Yeah.
I watched warm-ups for special teams, and I was surprised but not surprised that the 53-yarder went in. But balls weren't traveling very well.
Yeah.
Buschini likes to drop a ball a certain way, and when he was getting his spirals the balls would carry a little bit, but you needed that tail up, right? You're just taught to read the flight of the ball, tail up, tail down, and I felt like the air was a little thick, but I don't know. You may be right. Forcing the running fair catches and putting guys in a bind, it paid dividends.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy? The same play a year ago plagued Nebraska. Ethan Nation fumbled a punt in the same type of situation and same score. I mean, it's amazing that Iowa has found a way to beat Nebraska essentially with that play being the play that kind of turned the game both years.
There's nothing more prophetic than when Coach Rule said a few weeks ago, you just got to make a play. Isaiah Nayor is running on a play, perfectly drawn up. He's got a lead blocker in front of him. Saw the exact same play on a Sunday night watching a football game in the NFL. It scored. He catches that ball, it's a whole different game. It's like one guy.
What'd I come
Huge
over and
job.
tell you at halftime?
I know. You showed me also that was
the
open.
smack,
Yeah.
you run the hitch, the corner, the over route.
Yeah.
It'll be wide open.
And it was wide open.
Is wide open. And, you know, I tried to, the child in me, you know, looks kind of out the press box window because Lane and those guys like
You're looking at the
open.
lights.
I wanted to see how low they were.
Yeah.
I wanted to see if I could at least try to figure out what could have happened, but it wasn't near as much the drop as
The reaction.
the reaction that